Okay, Oscar fans, do you want to win your prediction pool? Meet the guys who can help you do it. This is Kevin Polowy from Yahoo. This is Scott Mantz from Access Hollywood. I'm Tom O'Neill from Gold Derby, and we're going to talk about all those other categories. So, Kevin, let's start. What tricks do the average person out there need to know to nail those?
I would say just pick whatever Scott Mantz picks. That's what I do. No, I mean that's a hard question to answer. You have to follow along with us at home. I mean, I don't think necessarily one of us is tops the rest in terms of their supreme knowledge of how these things are decided. But there's a wisdom to the crowd type appeal. I think when we all get together and unify our knowledge and start having arguments like this over who's going to win.
But that said, there usually are rules. For example, film editing usually lines up with Best Picture.
Okay, sure.
Sometimes the two sound awards agree, like they did last year with Mad Max. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the musical wins sound mixing, and a war film wins sound editing. So, what are some of these rules, Scott?
Well, I think what you just said is that the war films like Hacksaw Ridge for sound mixing.
No.
Sound mixing would be the musical, and that would be La La. But Hacksaw.
These sound categories drive me nuts because I've tried to crack this nut before. Oh, this one goes to music, this one goes to war. It never works.
But also when it comes to hair and makeup, I mean you have Star Trek Beyond, Suicide Squad.
Oh, I know what
Fantastic Beasts.
I know what you're picking.
Okay, my reputation precedes me. I'm a massive Trekkie. But I feel like of those three films, I feel like Star Trek Beyond. First of all, it's the best movie of those three.
And I thought you were going to say of the year.
No.
But they vote for the most makeup, the most costumes, the most. And this year we don't have that 18th century French Versailles movie with the women with the big hoop dresses. Yep. What we've got for costumes, let's pick that, for example, is a fascinating Oscar race where you've got these really impressive, more or less contemporary costumes of La La Land. Contemporary costumes don't tend to win against Jackie, the more designer stuff. And so you can make, I think, a compelling argument about either one of them winning.
Well, that's an example where I actually didn't think that La La Land was going to win. I think I went with Jackie on Gold Derby with my pick for that one because of the I mean it's 1963, November 1963. I feel like a movie like Fantastic Beasts, Colleen Atwood seems like sort of like the obvious choice to go with, but the costume and the wardrobe of Jackie didn't feel like a costume contest, and I think that's a feat to pull that off. But on the other hand, when you have a category like cinematography, initially I was going with Arrival because I thought that was a beautifully shot film, but then the more times I saw La La Land, the sort of saturated color of the Technicolor aspect of it, especially seeing it literally, I'm sorry, true, 10th time, my first time
I was just about to ask.
In IMAX, so I saw the movie 10 times. And by the way, I have not done that with a movie in theaters since it had the word Star Trek in the title. Usually a Star Trek movie with Shatner in it.
And this is a guy who can see movies for free, any movie he wants to before it opens. So at this point when you show up at the Cineplex, they're like, Mantz is back for La La Land.
Here's your seat. But La La Land and Arrival are two movies that I have seen repeatedly in theaters. One, because I just keep finding things about it that I like, and I keep liking it more and more when I see it. That's La La Land. The other movie is Arrival, which not only did I like it better the second time I saw it, but it was a different experience the second time I saw it, because when you get to the end of the film and you realize the way Amy Adams, playing Louise Banks, the linguist, sees time, it makes you go back and watch the movie differently. And I haven't felt that way about a movie since The Sixth Sense. But I'm digressing. But I still feel like in terms of cinematography, score, song, like those La La Land.
Those
has
are
a lot
absolutely.
in the bag.
All right, Kevin, best foreign film I think is really, really fascinating this year because early on, all the experts almost unanimously said Tony Erdmann. And then this little thing like the Muslim ban takes over the politics and the news in America. And all of a sudden we see this Iranian director all of a sudden being threatened with exclusion from the Oscars. And then him standing up and saying, even if they don't exclude me, I'm not going to go. And all of a sudden you realize this is a case of where reality, that politics could invade the Oscars, and it happens all the
And it
time.
will.
Is it a different race now for Best Foreign Film than it was just even a month or two ago? Can The Salesman win the Iranian?
Yeah, I think so. That's a great point. I think the politicking started long before February 26th. It started the morning of Oscar nominations when Meryl Streep got that nomination. That was kind of a big surprise. I think she got that nomination because of that Golden Globe speech. She was the talk of the town. She was top of everyone's minds. And you're seeing, I think, a similar type of deal with The Salesman. This movie is going to have a lot more support. I bet people are a lot more eager to watch it. I think Tony Erdmann they're two very different types of film.
For sure.
Tony Erdmann in the news now because Jack Nicholson is now going to remake it with Kristen Wiig, which is
By the way,
bonkers.
he's coming out of retirement to make this movie.
So we know what he's voting for, obviously. But yeah, I think in this case very specifically, I mean, there are always, there's loose Oscar politics and then there's real, true Oscar politics. This is a case where The Salesman gets an immediate bump.
Are you going to change your prediction?
No, I'm sticking with Tony Erdmann just because of the Nicholson factor.
Oh, yeah.
Because now politically, well, first of all, The Salesman on its own merits, it deserves to win. The politics now being, changing everything, not just the Oscars, everything. That will definitely, Salesman will see some sales, on the ballots. Sorry. But I still feel like Tony Erdmann. It's for a father-daughter relationship movie, it's epic. When I saw it at Cannes, I thought, wow, this is a 3-hour movie, and it's just about a father-daughter relationship. But there's not a wasted moment in the film. So, and look, obviously, if it's good enough for them to be making and Americanizing it with Kristen Wiig and Jack Nicholson, people are going to be, oh, okay, and the ballots are not due yet. But by the time they are.
I changed my prediction from Tony Erdmann just the other day to The Salesman. What are you going to do before? Have you come up with a firm prediction yet?
I haven't decided yet. No. But to Mantz's point, this was a movie. I feel like there were a couple movies this year where I personally hate long run times. We were talking about Return of the King earlier, and 8-hour runtime. But I agree. It's like that American Honey. I dreaded having to see. I kind of forced myself to see it after everyone said, you need to see this movie but you're right. There is not a wasted moment in that movie. I think maybe Tony Erdmann could benefit from the fact that it's apolitical, that it is surprisingly hilarious. Maybe it's we're probably gonna see Best Picture go to what is, I think, ultimately a feel-good movie. A little
it is
tragic in the end, La La Land.
Right.
And I think the heavy stuff and the feel-good stuff might balance out.
On those last 4 Oscar categories for the shorts, documentary, and animated, they befuddle all of us, of course.
They do.
The best advice we can give you is steal from Gold Derby's collective racetrack odds. We tend to be 3 out of 4 right.
Okay.
That's not bad. And by the way, the collective racetrack odds at Gold Derby tend to be smarter than any single one of us.
Especially me.
No, you just took us out in
That's
2 other
true.
prediction contests, and they do so again. Can you do it is the question. Can you take us down, the experts? I think you can. Go to Gold Derby, make your predictions, and prove it.